You're watching a Highwire Media podcast.
Hello, Cowboy fans, and welcome to the Big D Breakdown Show. As always, I'm your host, Luis. Today, we dive into all the latest headlines coming out of AT&T Stadium following Week 1 of preseason. So let's get into it. It only took one preseason game for the Cowboys to uncover their next star linebacker. The Cowboys are still in the process of figuring out who their starting linebackers will be for Week 1. Marvin Overshawn is recovering from a multi-ligament knee injury, and the hope is that he will return at some point during the 2025 season. That leaves veterans Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn as the top two linebackers on the roster. But there is another player who could get some consideration for one of the starting linebacker spots, and that is Marist Liufau. Apologies for butchering his name. Got to get used to saying his name as the weeks move forward. He actually started in 9 games for Dallas last year, filling in for Overshawn and Eric Kendricks when they were out with injuries. With a new defensive coordinator and a new scheme, though, he isn't necessarily a lock to see as much playing time. However, all he needed was one preseason game to make it clear that he deserves to start. We shouldn't overreact too much based on what we see in the preseason, but it was hard to ignore him. On the very first play, he made a tackle on kick coverage and then had the next tackle on defense. He was active as a blitzer and was flying around the ball during the snaps he was in the game. One of the best parts of his game is his physicality. The Cowboys don't have many players on defense that play with his tenacity, and his ability to stop ball carriers in their tracks is noticeable. While there are some concerns about his coverage skills, he more than makes up for it with aggressiveness and willingness. You can already see he looks a lot more comfortable in year 2 after a pretty solid rookie season. It remains to be seen how the linebacker rotation will work out in Dallas, but it's going to be tough for Matt Eberflus and company to keep him on the field. There is a chance we see Dallas use a heavy rotation, but the expectation is that he will eventually become a starter. It doesn't hurt that he is under contract through the 2027 season, whereas Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn are both on 1-year deals. The long-term future at linebacker is obviously for Dallas. The plan is for Overshawn and Liufau, apologies again, to occupy those spots for the next several years. But does he earn a place right away with the starters? Based on what we just saw in Week 1, it's hard to say that he doesn't deserve one. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Do you think he should start? Now on to our next topic, probably some of the biggest news coming out of the unofficial schedule for this year. The NFL announced early Wednesday, some 10 hours before the official schedule release, that the Dallas Cowboys will host the Kansas City Chiefs on Thanksgiving Day. You can guarantee the Cowboys will have several other games that are either at prime time or nationally broadcast. If the latest schedule leak is true, fans of America's team are going to be absolutely fuming. According to Washington-based radio host Kevin Sheehan, the Cowboys and Commanders will lock horns on Christmas Day, and the game will be streamed exclusively on Netflix. While this has not yet been announced by the league, Sheehan, apologies, is well respected in the DC area, has had a successful radio show for years. He's not big on breaking news, so there must be some weight attached to this rumor. We also have Nick Harris of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, who's also commented that he's heard Dallas will travel to Washington to face the Commanders on Christmas Day. According to Harris, the Cowboys have only played on Christmas Day 5 times in their 64-year history. It marks the first time they will play on the holiday since 2010. Despite not winning a Super Bowl since 1995, the Cowboys are arguably the biggest draw in the league. The Chiefs might have supplanted them in that regard over the last few seasons, but Dallas still produces some of the most watched NFL games each year. With that said, scheduling the Cowboys on both Thanksgiving and Christmas is just brutal. To be fair, families have probably adjusted by now to Dallas being a mainstay on Turkey Day. It's a tradition. The team played on Christmas Eve in 2023, which is typically another family-oriented gathering, but Christmas Day is a completely different animal for obvious reasons. The league is essentially asking diehard fans and those who cover the team to punt 2 of the biggest holidays on the calendar. We cannot speak for every fan, but generally speaking, if the Cowboys are on it becomes very difficult to devote all of one's attention to family. Thanksgiving is one sacrifice families are willing to make because of the tradition aspect, but Christmas is asking a lot. And now on to our next topic. Luke Schoonmaker trade window just flung open for the Cowboys after a brutal injury. With each week that passes in training camp and preseason, it becomes more apparent that the Dallas Cowboys need help at cornerback and defensive tackle. The offense, on the other hand, is in excellent shape. The wide receiving core is excellent. But the Cowboys are quietly stacked at tight end, so much so that they might be able to trade former second-round pick Luke Schoonmaker and still be fine. We'll break down the tight end room in a second, but the window to trade Schoonmaker flew wide open after the Texans placed veteran Brevin Jordan on season-ending injury reserve with a knee injury. Jordan came up limping in practice after he tried to corral a deep ball from C.J. Stroud. He tried to walk off under his own power, but he was unable to put pressure on his leg and was carted off. The 25-year-old was in tears as he was carted away to the locker room. It's a brutal turn of events for Jordan, and it leaves the Texans thin at tight end. Both Jordan and journeyman Irv Smith Jr. are unrestricted free agents after the season. That means old friend Dalton Schultz is the only experienced tight end under contract beyond 2025. Schultz is only signed through the 2026 season, so the Texans will have to address his contract next offseason in one way or another. Trading for Schoonmaker would give Houston some security behind Schultz, who caught just 52 passes for 532 yards and 2 touchdowns last season. So why would the Cowboys trade Schoonmaker? Well, for starters, they just signed starter Jake Ferguson to a 4-year extension, putting him under the team control for the next 5 years. The team is also extremely high on 2024 undrafted free agent Brevin Spanford, who seems primed for a big leap in year 2. An ankle injury has kept Spanford out of practice for the last 2 weeks, but multiple reporters believe he passed Schoonmaker on the depth chart before the injury. He could reclaim the number 2 spot if he's able to return to practice and play in the final preseason game. The Cowboys also have John Stevens Jr., who arguably has the highest pass-catching ceiling of the non-Ferguson tight ends. He needs to stay healthy, but the talent is undeniable. And let's not forget Princeton Fant, who has appeared in 10 games over the past 2 seasons and contributes on special teams. While Dallas might want a 3-headed monster in Ferguson, Spanford, and Schoonmaker to unleash on opposing defenses, Stevens and Fant are capable of handling the number 3 role. With Spanford bursting onto the scene, it's more clear than ever Schoonmaker is never going to reach his ceiling with the Cowboys. Schoonmaker might have more value in Dallas than what he'll fetch in a potential trade, but it doesn't hurt to call up the Texans and gauge their interest in light of Jordan's season-ending injury. Let me know what you would do in this situation. As always, leave a comment in the comment section below. Jerry Jones does not know how to shut up. Jerry Jones says the quiet part out loud about the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are being held back by Jerry Jones, and his latest quote not only reinforces that, but is an embarrassment to the franchise. Netflix made a docuseries about the Cowboys, and it's set to be released on August 19th. Anyways, the Cowboys have done a lot of great things since Jones bought the team back in 1989, and that's kind of why a docuseries was made about the franchise. However, as time has passed, Jerry Jones is saying things that are getting crazier and crazier. Speaking with the media during the premiere of America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, Jerry Jones really embarrassed the entirety of the Dallas Cowboys franchise with a few words. Quote, "The Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days a year. When it gets slow, I stir it up. There is controversy. That controversy is good stuff in terms of keeping and having people's attentions. This is just flat out ridiculous, embarrassing, and not something that an NFL owner and GM needs to be saying. I could not think of something worse to say in that moment, and this further proves that Jerry Jones isn't doing what he's doing to field a competitive football team. This is all Hollywood for him, so I guess some of the things he has and has not done shouldn't be a surprise anymore. The latest example is the Micah Parsons contract negotiations. Parsons is a top 3 pass rusher in the NFL and has 52.5 sacks over his first 4 years in the NFL. He's truly a generational talent and someone Dallas should have extended last offseason, but we can now see why Jerry Jones is extending these negotiations. He loves the attention, He surely loves when the national sports shows talk about him and the Cowboys. That's why he's still doing this as he gets older. And for the faithful Cowboy fans, this is a brutal reality that they have to swallow. While Jerry Jones might not admit it, this latest quote is a flat-out embarrassment for the Cowboys. And of course, the Dallas Cowboys are the most valuable football franchise in the world. Again, the Cowboys are, shocker here, the most valuable franchise in the world. Again, death, taxes, and the Dallas Cowboys being the most valuable sports franchise in the world. To be clear, the evaluation you're looking at here involves football franchises specifically, but the Cowboys have reigned supreme over all sports franchises when this type of exercise has been conducted across things beyond the NFL. Forbes is a group that performs that exercise, and this one was conducted by Sportico. As is noted in the report, in all 6 years that they have been doing it, the Cowboys have come out on top. We're talking about a dynasty here. The conversation generally turns this direction when we talk about how valuable the Cowboys are. It really is astonishing to give their lack of on-field success for almost 3 decades now. Markets clearly play a role in this, as LA, New York, and San Francisco are represented, but the Cowboys have truly mastered the art of making money. You already knew that though, right? Well, that is all the headlines for this week. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, if you want to support the channel, you can buy us a coffee and just scan that QR code or go to buymeacoffee.com/thebigd. As always, your support helps the channel grow, upgrade equipment, bring in new hosts, be able to pay them, and eventually take this show on the road. And your support can help make that happen. Everything you give goes 100 back into this channel before I even take a dime of earnings. So with that, thank you so much for watching and listening. We'll see you next time.